You know, I don't know much about tennis.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've been reliably informed.
I know the sport.
Yeah,
I
you've
haven't
heard of
been-
tennis.
I haven't been following. I just don't know who's involved. I mean, I know the big guys here. But
I'm not going to test you, but who are the big guys?
well, just Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, Jovac, yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah, Jovac Nokovic is Novak Djokovic.
Novak Djokovic. Yeah, that's right. Novak Djokovic and Coco, someone.
Yep.
She's amazing.
Yeah, Coco Pops.
It's Coco, Go Cough.
Go Stop, yeah.
I don't know who else.
That's
There's an Australian dude called Alex,
Yeah,
whose surname I forget, like Domino's or something.
yeah, that's him, Alex Domino's. He sells pizzas in his spare time.
Oh my god, amazing. You got to make a start somewhere.
Yeah,
He's
now.
like number 10.
He's number 10 in the world.
Cheapest.
Should we make a start?
Yeah.
Tim Minchin, welcome to the AO Show.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. And you're a different type of guest because we usually speak to players, coaches, commentators, experts.
I mean, I can pretend to be an expert in nearly any subject.
Yeah.
Tennis, I'm going to struggle. Like I could talk about the physics of it,
Yeah.
but I'm way behind on who's good now.
That's fine. We might just give that a wide berth.
Okay, great.
But
right.
what brings you here to the Australian Open and to Melbourne?
Well, I'm in Melbourne because one of the musicals I wrote music and lyrics for, Groundhog Day, is opening next week or the week after, a couple of weeks, 24th of January. And so I'm down here to kind of check in on the rehearsals and make sure the band is rocking. And and Andy Carl, who's our star, who has been the star of this show in London, then on Broadway, then back in London, and now has come to Melbourne. He's amazing. He's also a tennis fan. And he said, I'm going to be in Melbourne during the Australian Open. Can we go? And I'm like, yeah, I think we can go. So here we are on opening night.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I like the synergy between sport and showbiz.
Yeah.
And I thought as a good angle for
Yeah.
this brief interview that we might touch on a few of those commonalities between the two industries. So I've sort of picked out 4 concepts: entertainment, composition,
Nice.
audience, and
Look
celebrity.
at you. This is quite highbrow.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Can I use big words?
You can absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So people think I'm smart?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, go.
Now, whether it's the stalls of the Princess Theatre or the President's Reserve at Rod Laver Arena,
Yeah.
Melburnians love a good show. So what are the ingredients of a good show?
Well, I guess you want heroes and villains, which audiences of sport choose themselves. Audiences of theatre kind of get told who the goodies and baddies are. That's something I love about sport, and I love sport, is how we build sort of classic narratives out of the raw material of sport.
Yeah.
So we choose someone to be our goodie, and we choose Collingwood to be our baddie, for example. And then we get to know those characters. We get to know at least our version of the personalities of the players, right? Again, in theatre, the writer helps you with that. But in sport, we kind of invest in whoever we want to invest in, and we follow them through their highs and lows. So by the time we get to the third act, as we'd call it in a film, or the second act in a musical, or the semi-finals of a tennis tournament, we're hyper invested in the outcome, and we know that that player lost the third and fourth set of the third round, and we know that that player had an injury 2 years ago or lost their cousin in a car accident. We know everything, so that we bring all our investment to it. So I guess we have all those ingredients. We have redemption, and we have highs and lows, and then we have overcoming obstacles, and all the things that we love in stories we have in sport as well.
That's a good observation. I guess the key difference is that here we do unscripted drama.
Yeah.
It all plays out in real time.
Yeah.
You have the privilege of crafting a narrative.
Yeah.
What does it take to craft a narrative? And how are players, do you think, similar in the way that they compose points, compose matches?
That's interesting, because I mean, what perhaps is more similar in sport and something like theatre, like in a film, you control everything. You can't control how the actor does their job, but you can get 10 takes if they're not doing what you want. You control the light, you control the moment you cut to the other shot, you control the words they say, the music that goes, you control everything. In theatre, every time you go on stage, it is in a way like a game, because you've done all the prep you can possibly do, everyone's got the things they have to do. In tennis, of course, it's a solo game, although they have their teams and their coaches and their gear and all the things. Like we have our microphones and our director. But stuff can go wrong. And on the other hand, stuff can go very, very right. You have amazing nights when you're a live theatre performer, and the audience is on your side, and your voice is feeling good, and your body's feeling good, and your co-cast members are feeling good, and the band's rocking it. There is something magical about it, something improvised about it. There is that kind of indescribable other thing that sometimes kicks in, the X factor, right? Of course, what you don't have in the theatre is an opposition trying to undo you the whole time.
Hopefully
so
not.
I guess that's right. Sometimes you have an audience that feels like the enemy. They're crossing their arms and sneering. But the other thing I love about it in terms of sort of composition, or at least craft, is that it does take 10,000 hours or whatever number you want to pick to be able to do what our Andy does, or to be able to do what
Novak?
Jovac Nokovic does. And it is that thing where you put your whole life into your craft, and then on the day it either goes well or it doesn't. But as a arty type who loves sport, I have to admit, and a lot of my artsy friends hate sport because there's that sort of jock nerd divide. I love it, and I love particularly the improvised nature, that you don't know the ending of a sports match. I do think it is the ultimate theatre in a way.
Okay. So you sound like you know a lot more about tennis than you previously revealed. I just think it's a more, conceptual.
Well,
notion.
I love sport, and I played I actually played field hockey, not, sort of second grade, never quite premier.
In West Australia?
Yeah, in West Australia up until my mid-20s. So I'm a sporto. I'm a secret sporto, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And finally, the notion of celebrity, which is sort of a touchy subject. In the tennis world, never before have these athletes been under such spotlight, to borrow from your industry.
Yeah.
What do you think of the notion of celebrity? Is it something that should be embraced by the stars? Do you understand why some shy away from it?
Yeah, I think the unfair thing is it's not up to us what our personalities are. We're emergent entities, and if you're I know guys who are unbelievable comedian or people who are fantastic actors and writers, and they're just not good with people. They're just really shy or just really anxious, and so they might have a reputation for being rude to journalists or rude to people on the street. You get someone else like me. I'm really happy to talk to people on the street. I would never say no to a photo or whatever, but that's not because I'm a good guy. It's because I'm just wired to not mind.
It's natural for you.
And I think some sports people are really good at it, and some people aren't. And what's terrible about it is that we demand equal performance of all of them. I know we don't. The media doesn't, but we, the public, think celebrities all owe us a certain level of revelation, a certain level of discourse, and it's just. I mean, I could be really boring about this, but I just am not. I've never bought a celebrity magazine. I have never read a gossip website. I do not care about the lives of artists. I do not care about the lives of sports people. And I wish there was a bit more of that. Why do we expect sports people to be everything to us, to have all the political opinions we want them to have? It'd be good if you got a vaccine. But anyway, but that will go. But what is it about us that expects, just because someone's in the public eye, that they're suddenly going to be the full representation of everything we dreamed that they would be? They're good at tennis.
Yeah, strange. Desire to want to be close to that which we will never be.
Maybe. Or if I was that person, I'd be so grateful. I mean, that's a big thing, and I totally understand that. If you watch someone getting paid $10 million a year to play a sport, and then they're rude, I get where it comes from. But yeah, I've been close enough to enough highly successful elite people in various fields to know that you just don't know what they're going through, and $10 million a year doesn't stop you being miserable if you're miserable, and doesn't make you an extrovert if you're an introvert and doesn't.
Sounds like song lyrics.
Yeah, man, I'm rapping here. Don't interrupt me.
I like it.
It's a rap battle. Your turn.
Well, I can't come back with a stanza. What I can come up with you is a final question.
That was pretty rhythmic, actually. I can't come back with the stanza. Anyway,
Okay, well, we can work with it.
Yeah.
Final question. I know you're a self-confessed non-tennis fan, but if you had to write a musical about this sport, any aspect of it, how do you think you would approach it? What would you go after?
Well, I'm a fan of tennis. I'm just disconnected from. I just haven't been keeping up. I really love tennis. Actually, I think it's a beautiful sport, and it's an extraordinary. Like most sports, it is rich for metaphor. You know, like you could have ideas that are like, that just landed in the tram line. Like
Yes.
you can create art which is like I don't know, clipped your heel as you try to jump the net. I use a tennis metaphor in one of my speeches, actually, to charmingly quote myself.
Okay.
Because perhaps the political thing I've been most engaged in for the last 15, 20 years is talking, because my training's kind of in philosophy of logic
Sure.
and nerdy stuff, and I'm very interested in how we form opinions and are very biased towards beliefs that we already hold and all this nerdy stuff. Confirmation bias, that sort of stuff. I once talked about how if we don't examine our own ideas and we don't find a shared premise when we're arguing with people, then we'll all end up just hitting perfect shots from either end of two different tennis courts.
I like it.
Right. So I would write a song built around that, because I reckon it's a pretty kinky little metaphor.
Yeah, and faults and double faults.
Yeah, there's so much.
Yeah, right for
Towing
the
the
picking.
line. I mean, I wrote a whole song about not stepping outside the line when you're a hammer thrower for Matilda. So there's precedent for the sports metaphor.
Okay. Well, the ball's in your court.
Oh, wow. That was amazing. Quick, press stop. That's the perfect end.
Okay, thank you, Tim, for joining us.
Cheers, John.
Enjoy the tennis tonight,
I'm gonna.
and we'll see you at the premiere of Groundhog Day and the tennis musical that you're about to write.
Fantastic. Yeah, what a racket.